All right, Chapter 10, Lesson 1, Customary Length. So, first off, we have to know how to convert units. The first thing we need to know is that when we go from large units to smaller units, we multiply. And the reason we multiply is because we're going from big to small, so we're going to get more of them. The one example I always like to use is going from feet to inches, because all of us know that one really well. We know that 1 foot, which is our larger unit, equals 12 inches. So, a few of our problems, if I have 2 feet and I want to change that to inches, I'm going to multiply because I'm going to be getting more inches, right? When you go from big and you cut something up into something little, you get more of those little pieces. So I'm going to take 2 feet and I'm going to times it by my conversion. So 1 foot equals 12 inches. So I'm going to times it by 12 inches and I'm going to get 24 inches. And notice that as I'm showing my conversion, I'm also including the units of measure so I don't get confused. Now, if we have small units, and I want to go to a larger unit of measure, I'm going to divide. And I'm going to use the same numbers from the last problem to just do the inverse. And I'm going to use the same feet and inches. If I have 24 inches, I'm going to divide it by 12 inches, and that's going to give me 2 feet. So here are the units of measure for length. 1 foot equals 12 inches, 1 yard equals 3 feet, 1 mile equals 5,280 feet, 1 mile equals 1,760 yards. On the left side are the larger units, and on the right side are the smaller units. So if you were taking the unit on the left and going to the unit on the right, you would be multiplying. If you had the smaller units, inches, feet, or a yard, and you were taking it to a larger unit, you would be dividing. Now we're going to do some example problems. If I have 2 miles, and I want to go miles to feet. It's so hard to write on this. I'm going to use my conversion from the previous page. So I know that 1 mile equals 5,280 feet. So I'm going to take my larger unit, 5,280 feet, and I'm going to multiply that by 2 miles. And as I multiply, 0, 6, carry the 1, that's 4, and 1 more is 5, and that's 10. I count 3 over. My comma, whoops, not a decimal, a comma, that equals 10,560. Let's fix that. That was 10,560 feet. which is the equivalent of 2 miles. So if you walk 2 miles during this past week, you've walked 10,560 feet. That's a lot. Another example is going from 5 feet to inches. And a lot of these examples are either from Think Central or the homework assignment page. So make sure you are writing these in your notes, and you are also referring back to this when you're completing the homework page and or Think Central. So I know that 1 foot equals 12 inches, so I'm going to multiply. I'm going to take my 5 feet, and I'm just going to write this one horizontally, since it's a basic math fact that we should know, but we still need to show our work, and that equals 60 inches, which is the equivalent of 5 feet. All right, and one more. If I have 100 yards and I want to convert that to feet, I'm also going to multiply. I'm going to take my 100 yards and I'm going to multiply that by 3 feet, because 1 yard equals 3 feet, and that equals 300 feet, which is the equivalent of 100 yards. I'm getting towards the end here, so I'm scooting it down. All right, next we're going to go from smaller units to larger units. And when we're dividing to convert a smaller unit to a larger unit, the quotient is the larger unit and the remainder is still the leftover, that's the smaller unit. So I'm going to start with measurements that we're more familiar with. I have 46 feet, and I want to know how many inches that is. So I'm going to divide. There are 12 inches in 1 foot. So your divisor is the conversion that you're using. This is 12 inches divided by 46 feet. And 12 can't go into 4, but 12 can go into 46 3 times, which is 36. And I subtract, and I get 10. We're not doing, I mean, you could continue this and do decimals. We're not doing that for this unit of measure. I also can know that I can put this as a fraction, and that would be 10 over 12, right? Because the remainder, we can make a mixed number. We've learned that already. And 10/12 would equal a fraction that can be reduced to 5/6. So that would be 3 feet and 5/6 inches. But for this lesson, since it's the beginning of the chapter, we're just going to keep it a little more simple. We're going to say 3 feet with 10 and 10 inches. And that's how we would write our answer. And just to show another example of how to write this, we know that the remainder was 10. Our divisor is always our denominator. And so my GCF would be 2. Now divide that by 2, and I would get 5/6 of an inch. So 3 feet and 5/6 inches. But for right now in this lesson, we just need to know it's 3 feet and 10 inches. We'll come back to this part later on. All right, let's do another example. I have 3,540 yards, and we want to convert that information into miles. Again, I'm going to divide, and if I go back to our notes, we know that 1 mile equals 1,760 yards. So that's the conversion information that I'm going to use. (1,760 yards) my smaller unit is my divisor, and I have 3,540 yards. And this is really big numbers. We're going to have to use a little bit of our knowledge of estimating. I know that this number is close to 18, and what does 18 look like? We could use estimating. I also know that if I have 1,760 of something, I'm probably not going to be able to go more than just doubling it, because that's going to be 2,000, and with one regroup, that would give me 3. So we kind of need to do some of our math sense here. That's 0, this is 12, carry the 1, 14, that's 15, and one more is 3. And we get really close to that. And since this is 1,760, it doesn't go into 3, it doesn't go into 5, it doesn't go into 4, but it goes into the whole number. So the first digit of my quotient is going in the ones place. Again, it's nice to have graph paper. One thing this app is missing. So I'm getting to miles. So right here, this is 2 miles. And I'm writing the miles in already just because I know this is the end of the number. I'm not going to add a decimal. I'm not going to be adding more zeros to drop down. So that's why I'm just going to put in the conversion unit. And that's 3,520. And I subtract, I get 20 left over. Now this 20 left over is yards. So 3,540 yards equals 2 miles and 20 yards. Now, when you show your work, I'm assuming you'll be showing your work and doing working out these problems on graph paper or scratch paper that you have. But when you enter your information in, if you want, for simplistic reasons, just to write it out laterally or vertically, horizontally, yards equals 2 miles and 20 yards. That's fine to write it out that way too, unless you're going to turn in paperwork. Then you can staple your graph paper to it. All right, let's do another one. So we have 6,000. Put example 1, example 2. I wasn't numbering the other ones. Sorry. 6,200 feet, and I want to convert that to miles. Again. So I don't know how many feet are in 1 mile, but I have my handy dandy chart. And it says 1 mile equals 5,280 feet. I don't expect you to memorize that, but we're going to do our division. I'm going to do it over here, more room. 5,280 feet. And I'm going to divide by 6,200 feet. Again, these are some really big numbers. Luckily, it begins with a 5. I know that if I double this, it's going to give me something close to 10,000, and I know that's not going to work. So 5,280 can go into 6,200 one time. Again, I'm putting my answer in the ones place. I'm going to subtract to see what the remainder is. And when I subtract, I get 0. I borrow. That becomes 1. That becomes 5. That becomes 11. And 11 minus 2. 9. And then 10 minus 8 is 2. 920. So, I know that sounds weird, but it's 1 mile. And I'm going to put feet here, and then I'll just write it out because I'm getting close to the edge. So 6,200 feet divided by, there's a couple extra dots there, patience as I learned how to write on this. Divide that by the unit that we're converting. Equals 1 mile and 920 feet. All right, so those were a few examples of how we convert customary units of length, feet, inches, mile, yards. We'll talk more about measurement later on because we have a whole another gamut of measurement called metric, which the majority of the world uses except us. But what I want to make sure you do is that you copy your notes into your notebook. There was a Pear Deck assignment that I assigned on the Chromebook. Want to try it out and see how that works out and see if we're successful in completing that. It's kind of like some sample problems that you kind of complete along the way. I am not sure if I gave you the conversion chart paper with all the measurements on it. If I did give it to you in the packet of papers, then cut it out and glue it into your notebook. Otherwise, I attached another PDF into the Google Classroom app for today's lesson. You do have your Think Central for 10.1 to do, and then you have the homework page. If for some reason you do not have access to Think Central, you're able to see the video but then not able to get onto Think Central, the workbook page assignment is also posted.